Well, first and foremost, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you, of course, for your interest in the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowships. Before we get started, I do just want to point out that we have live captioning for today's presentation. All you have to do to enable that is click the caption button. It should be, I believe, at the bottom of your screen on Zoom. Um, and you'll be able to read along with the captions. My name is Jackie Dominis. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her, and I'm the program director for fellowships at Mid-Atlantic Arts. Currently zooming in from South Jersey on the ancestral territory of the Lenape people. Also very happy to be joined today by Steph Nurback from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. You should be able to see her on your screen as well. And just want to start off by saying that Mid-Atlantic Arts administers the application submission review and post-award process on behalf of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts through an ongoing partnership. And this webinar is designed to help you better understand the Individual Artist Fellowships program and sort of help guide you through the application process with Mid-Atlantic Arts Smart Simple system. And today we're going to review the eligibility and application requirements, and then we'll pull up the actual application and provide a demonstration about how to use the system. We anticipate that the presentation portion of the webinar will last about an hour-ish, and then we'll spend some time answering questions at the end. The webinar is intended to help applicants gain a better understanding of the program and its requirements, but is not intended as a substitution for the program rules and instructions, which are available in both English and Spanish on the New Jersey State Council on the Arts and Mid-Atlantic Arts websites, which is to say that very happy to have you here to learn about it, but also still important to read over the rules and instructions before getting ready to apply. As I mentioned, Steph Nurback will be one of the co-presenters for today. So before we begin the presentation, I just want to invite Steph to say a few words about the State Arts Council and the program itself. So Steph, I will send it over to you.
Thanks, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Stephanie Nurback, also known as Steph, and I am the Artist Services Manager at the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. I'm so pleased to join you and my Mid-Atlantic Arts partner today. The State Arts Council is thrilled to offer this opportunity annually to practicing artists in our state. In recent years, we have increased the funding and the number of awards going out directly to artists in support of their practices. And as we have done so, we've seen a substantial increase in the awareness of this program and the artists' engagement with it. So taking advantage of this technical assistance is an important step in submitting a successful application. I'm so glad you're here. There are other ways the State Arts Council supports artists, including professional development opportunities, public arts inclusion program, the New Jersey Arts Annual Exhibition, the New Jersey Senior Art Show, and the folk and traditional arts programming made available every year. To get more information about the Arts Council's programs and services in support of the arts in New Jersey, I'll drop the website into the chat. And also, if you are not on our mailing list, please consider adding yourself to the list. That includes our Opportunities for the Field newsletter. That's our monthly compilation of various calls for artists, professional development, and many other opportunities for artists and arts organizations. And I will put the latest issue of that Opportunities for the Field in the chat in a moment. And you could also feel free to reach me directly. You can send me an email, and I'll be putting my email into the chat. And before I toss it back over to Jackie, I just would like to thank Mid-Atlantic Arts and Jackie especially for their hard work on this program and their dedicated partnership. It's their hard work and professionalism that make this program run so smoothly. It is a robust program, and we're very proud of it, but it is hard work. And I'm very grateful to them for their responsive assistance to New Jersey's artists. So on behalf of the council staff and board, I welcome you all here today. Thank you. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Steph. So before we begin, we do respectfully ask that you save questions until the end. Traditionally, with these webinars, we answer a bunch of questions as soon as we get through the presentation. We will answer your question, and if we don't have an immediate answer, we will follow up. We'll ask you to follow up via email or call, but there will be plenty of time for questions. Also, just want to note that we will be publicly posting a captioned recording of the webinar, along with the transcript following today's presentation. Also, if you're here, but you feel like you only need a refresher about how to navigate the application system and you don't need to go through all the rules and instructions with us, there's also a quick 10-minute quick start tutorial video available on the Mid-Atlantic Arts website and the Mid-Atlantic Arts YouTube. So if you're just looking for, navigating Smart Simple and the actual application, feel free to take a look at that as well. So I'm going to pause my video just so that hopefully the PowerPoint runs smoother. And then we will jump right in. Okay, so before we get into the specific eligibility requirements, I'd like to provide an overview of how the program works. So the individual artist fellowships are awarded based on work the applicants have already created. In the application and program rules and instructions that we'll be discussing today, you'll notice that you'll be asked to submit examples of your work from the past 4 years. In order to be eligible for the program, you must be able to submit work that falls within the parameters of one of the categories offered during this current round. The completed work samples that you submit in your application will be evaluated through a peer review panel process. If you're recommended to receive a fellowship based on those evaluations, you will receive a cash award that is almost entirely unrestricted. Essentially, what this means is that you can use that funding for almost any purpose which helps support you in your work. For example, if you apply in painting, and if you're awarded, you could use that funding for painting supplies, or you could use it to help you create a filmmaking project or interdisciplinary project, or you could use it to help you cover rent, expenses. So many people are familiar with project grants where you submit a proposal and receive funding to execute a specific idea or concept that you'd like to complete in the future. But for the fellowships, you only need to submit eligible examples of your past work, even if you don't have a specific project in mind for the fellowship funding. Fellowship recipients have almost complete flexibility, like I said, to use the funding in a way that works best for them. Individual artist fellowships are offered in a broad range of visual, literary, and performing arts categories. Different categories are offered each year, and as noted in the program rules and instructions, we run on a 2-year category rotation schedule. This means that applicants have the opportunity to apply to the fellowships more regularly. The categories offered for the 2026 award cycle will be film video, digital electronic, interdisciplinary, painting, printmaking/drawing/book arts, and prose. Only applications in these categories will be accepted for the 2026 fellowships. You may submit one application in a single category per year. If your work doesn't fall under one of these categories, we invite you to see the program rules and instructions for the full category rotation schedule and apply under the appropriate award category in a future program year. The early bird application deadline for the 2026 fellowships will be 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, July 2nd. If you submit by this deadline, you'll be eligible to receive revision requests if we find an error on your application. Meaning if you submit after July 2nd and your application has an error, it will be considered ineligible. The final deadline will be 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, July 16th. So please, please, please be sure to plan ahead and contact us well in advance of the deadlines if you need any assistance. And please also feel free to reach out to me if you're experiencing any issues accessing the application. Recipients of the fellowships are selected through a competitive evaluation process based on examples of their work submitted in the application. Fellowship applications are reviewed by independent panels of peer evaluators composed of artists and arts professionals with expertise in each specific discipline. The recipients of the individual artist fellowships are decided solely on artistic quality as demonstrated by work samples submitted in the application. It's also important to note that applications are reviewed anonymously. Panelists will not have access to your information as they are reviewing the work. The anonymous review process helps ensure that panelists are not influenced by name recognition or previous accomplishments, education, or employment of the applicant. There is no award quota per artistic discipline or style. Fellowships are awarded to those applicants who demonstrate the highest artistic quality regardless of discipline. So basically, at the end of the evaluation process, the State Arts Council staff combines all the application scores across every single discipline offered that year and creates a funding scenario that awards the top scoring applications. The amount of the award is determined annually by the State Arts Council from funding provided through the New Jersey Hotel Motel Tax. Fellowship awards have ranged in the past anywhere from $3,000 to $32,000. As I mentioned, fellowships are not project-based, so the funds are not earmarked for any specific purpose other than to help support the recipient. Artists may use fellowship awards to purchase supplies, participate in a workshop, rent studio space, or pay their mortgage, obtain childcare, or generally use the funding to free their time, among many other possibilities. The only limitations are that fellowship funds may not be used for travel outside of the country, study as a matriculated student in either a graduate or undergraduate program, or to purchase permanent equipment, which is considered equipment with a resale value exceeding $350 or having a lifespan over 3 years. To be considered eligible to apply for a fellowship, applicants must be permanent residents of the state of New Jersey. The applicant must be a current permanent New Jersey resident at the time of application and at the time of award, which will take place in March 2026. This means that if the applicant moves out of state after the application has been submitted, but prior to being awarded a grant, they are no longer considered eligible. Awarded fellows will be asked to supply 2 forms of verification with their name and home address, such as driver's license or ID card, utility bills, pay stub, mortgage statement, bank account statement, etc. And the full list of acceptable forms of residency verification is available on the rules and instructions. Applicants must be age 18 or older, and the applicant must be the artist whose original artwork is represented in the submitted work samples. There are also some limitations about who may apply to this program, so the following individuals are not eligible to apply. Artists who received a New Jersey State Council on the Arts Fellowship in any category in 2025, 24, 23, 22, or 21 are not eligible to apply for the current year. Applicants may not be matriculated students in a graduate, undergraduate, or high school program at the time of application or award. Fellowships may not provide funding for scholarships or academic study in pursuit of a degree. Collaborating New Jersey artists are not eligible to submit a joint application for collaborative work. The applicant artist must have sole creative control over all work submitted to the fellowships program under their name. In addition to meeting applicant eligibility, all work samples submitted for consideration must meet a general set of eligibility criteria, regardless of medium. So these require that all work samples must have been produced within the eligible time frame outlined by discipline in the rules and instructions. Work completed while the applicant was a matriculated student in a graduate, undergraduate, or high school program is not considered eligible. Works in progress and project proposals are not considered eligible work samples. For the purposes of this program, complete is considered to be the point at which the work is ready for public presentation, unless otherwise noted in the rules and instructions. As I mentioned previously, to help ensure that applications are reviewed solely on the artistic quality of the work submitted and not on the previous accomplishments or identity of the artist, the New Jersey State Council on the Arts has made the application review process anonymous for panelists. Accordingly, applicants may not include identifying or biographical information in their work samples, in their work sample files, or on the work sample page of the online application at all. This includes information such as, but not limited to, the artist's name or signature, identifying initials or symbols, professional affiliations, biographical information. These things may render the application ineligible. If it is not possible for this type of identifying information to be edited out of the work sample, it cannot be submitted as part of the application. We also want you to keep in mind that there are specific technical requirements for work submitted to this program. These requirements help with consistency, but are also necessary to make sure the work samples submitted are compatible with the review software. In almost every case, it's possible to convert whatever files you have available, but we urge you to plan ahead when preparing your work samples for submission. We also have an extensive work sample preparation guide that's available on the Mid-Atlantic Arts website, which includes links to free online conversion resources and answers to many frequently asked questions. Works purely generated through AI are not eligible for submission, as the artist must have sole creative control over the conceptualization and implementation of the submitted works. Projects that utilize AI as part of a generative process, but where the artist retains creative control of the finished work, are eligible. If an AI-powered tool was used as part of the creative process, artists must disclose which tool was used and how in the technical information space of the application. All applicants will be given space in the application to address the following question, and this is optional. Is there any additional written context you want to provide for the panelists to help them better understand the work you are submitting in this application? Contextualizing your submitted work may support your application. If it's necessary for the full reception and understanding of the work you are submitting, you're encouraged to share a brief statement discussing specific ideas. And then let's go to this one. So examples of what your statement may include, or examples of topics that, if they are relevant to your submitted work sample, you might want to include in that statement. Your cultural background and/or identity and its integration in your submitted work. Cultural background and/or identity may include race, ethnicity, heritage, gender, sexual orientation, disability, religion, cultural traditions, historical context, regionality, community of origin, or personal cultural knowledge. You might also include the reason for submitting these particular work samples. So for example, if you're trying to represent the scope of your work versus a cohesive series or body of works, you can disclose that in the application context statement. What you intended to explore conceptually or otherwise with the submitted work. And also, again, how AI was integrated into the creative process of any applicable submitted work if it was used. We are not accepting standard artist philosophy statements, but rather succinct statements that specifically help panelists contextualize each application and the work that applicants choose to submit. While you are encouraged to include an application context statement, the inclusion of this statement is optional and is considered secondary to the work samples themselves. Previous panelists have expressed that context statements are often helpful in providing a useful frame of reference for reviewing applications. If you feel the addition of such a statement is not relevant to your submitted work or is unnecessary for the full reception of your application, again, you are not required to include one. Applicants are limited to 150 words. Artists who choose to submit a statement for the panel should be aware that their response may not include any biographical or identifying information. So again, please do not include your legal or artist name, contact information, including personal details, social media handles, or agent media contacts, any biographical information that could be found in your CV or resume, including exhibitions, performances, publications, educational background, former or current employment, awards, fellowships, grants, residencies you've received in the past. It should also not include details about the exhibition, performance, or publication of the submitted work. So for instance, if you're submitting a work sample of work that's been exhibited in a specific museum, please do not list what museum it is currently in or was previously in. No indications hinted or overt about the applicant's age, experience level, or where the applicant is in their career. So for example, please avoid saying, I've been practicing for 30 years, or after recently graduating with a degree in XYZ. Please do not include links to external sources of any kind, like your website, interviews. Please do not include direct appeals to the panel, such as, putting, please consider funding my work or anything like that. Information about what the funding would be used for if you receive an award should not go in this area either. Again, it's not a project-based award or need-based award. Please do not include your personal or financial circumstances. And again, it's not meant to be a space for general artistic philosophy. Also, please note that we reserve the right to remove a panel statement from an application that does not meet the requirements of the application context statement. In addition to general work sample eligibility and technical specifications for work samples, each category has specific requirements for the work samples depending on the medium. We're going to quickly review what those are for each category, but again, please be sure to review the program rules and instructions before submitting an application. We also strongly encourage applicants to use the program rules and instructions as a checklist as they go through the application to make sure they're meeting all the requirements for their specific category. So we're going to start with film video. This category accepts all genres of film and video, such as feature-length films, shorts, animation, documentaries, etc., as well as any other time-based work produced by recording visual images. One example of the applicant's original work must be uploaded into the online application. The uploaded video file has a maximum time limit of 10 minutes and may not exceed 500 megabytes. Do not submit more than one work in the file, meaning compilations of multiple films are not eligible. The submitted video file must represent a contiguous portion of the work. Again, do not submit a collection of excerpts. The applicant artist must be solely responsible for the creative decisions regarding conception, directing, and editing of the work submitted. Collaborations are not eligible. Again, please do not submit works in progress. Work completed or primarily produced while the applicant was a student is not eligible. And the video work sample must be stripped of any identifying metadata embedded in the file, and the file names should not contain the applicant's name or other identifying information. For film video, applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about the work sample: the title, the length of the full work, the month and year of completion, a short 2 to 3 sentence synopsis or description of the full work. The synopsis basically should help situate the submitted section in the context of the larger work, if applicable. And applicants may also include other relevant technical details about the creation of the work in the technical information section of the application. So that could be camera equipment that was used, methods of editing, etc. If working as the head of a production team for film video, applicants should explain their specific role or roles in the creation of the work, keeping in mind that, again, they should have maintained creative control over the full work in order to be eligible for the program. Digital electronic. This category accepts time-based, interactive, or kinetic work where technology is pivotal to the meaning and/or presentation of the work, such as electronic installations, virtual and augmented reality, internet projects, and other emerging forms. Film, video, and responsive audio components, which are incorporated into a larger installation work, are also accepted in this category. Please be sure to closely review the rules and instructions for examples of what work is and is not accepted in this category. Applicants will be provided with space to upload 4 to 6 digital images or short video clips of their original work in the digital electronic application. Either an image or video file will be accepted for each upload. Applicants may submit any combination of images and video that best represents their work within the space allotted in the application. Applicants may submit both image and video documentation of the same work. It is strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented in your application if feasible. All work samples must have been created after July 16th, 2021. That's the date that is applicable to all work samples across all categories. Again, please do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. And there should be no signatures, initials, or recognizable artist marks appearing in the digital images or videos. For digital electronic, if you are submitting video as your work sample documentation, each video clip must be no longer than 1 minute in length and no larger than 100 megabytes. The video should demonstrate how the work samples function. Video may only provide documentation of the submitted work samples. Please do not submit promotional videos, still images presented as a slideshow, interviews with the artist, or other commentary which provides interpretation of the work. And again, video work samples should be stripped of any identifying metadata in the file or file names. Applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample in the online application: the title, the medium, the dimensions, if applicable, month and year of completion. Applicants should also describe the production technique, materials, and technical processes related to the creation of the work samples in the technical information section. So for digital electronic, that could be the software that was used, how certain mechanical structures were built out, etc. Interdisciplinary. This is the one that everyone usually has questions about. So the interdisciplinary category accepts work which is created by combining 2 or more fellowship disciplines. That's the key for the definition of interdisciplinary for these fellowships. To apply in interdisciplinary, each work sample you submit should be combining 2 or more fellowship disciplines. This category is intended for work which would not otherwise be appropriate for review in any of the individual fellowship disciplines due to the interdisciplinary nature of the work. Mixed media work that is primarily one medium, or work where each disciplinary component could be performed or exhibited independently, should not be submitted in this category. Before starting an application, applicants submitting in the interdisciplinary category should reference their work against the following criteria to help ensure eligibility. The applicant must be the individual who had sole creative control over the conceptualization and creation of all work submitted under their name. Again, creative collaborations are not eligible, although the artist may have received assistance with the physical production of the work. Any work where each disciplinary component could be performed or exhibited independently is not eligible. So, for example, a musical composition that is used for a choreographed dance performance would not be eligible, even if both were created by a single artist. Again, the category is intended for work which is not well suited for any other single fellowship discipline. Artists who work in more than one discipline separately but do not combine those disciplines into single interdisciplinary works are not eligible. So basically what that means is if you consider yourself a painter and also a filmmaker, you cannot submit a couple paintings and a film clip. It has to be that each work sample is combining two or more disciplines. So if your work actively combines painting and sculpture, for instance, that is a good example of interdisciplinary. Applications submitted in this category will be evaluated by panelists representing a broad range of artistic disciplines and interdisciplinary practices. Keep in mind the type of panel that is best suited to evaluate your work. If your work is primarily based in a single discipline, such as printmaking, the panelists evaluating the printmaking, drawing, book arts category will have more specialized experience in the type of work that you're submitting. The submitted work samples, again, must incorporate at least two of the fellowship artistic disciplines. Those, for reference, are all listed on page 8 of the rules and instructions. For example, a dancer who also choreographed the work that is being performed would not be eligible, as dance performance is not an individual artist fellowship artistic discipline. Mixed media work that is primarily one medium should not be submitted in this category. For example, a painting which incorporates a small amount of collage should be submitted in the painting category. Applicants will be provided with space to upload 4 to 6 digital images and/or short video clips of their original work, or 1 to 4 PDFs of their original work. If you are submitting digital images as documentation, 4 to 6 digital images of the applicant's original work must be uploaded. You may include detail shots, but it is strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented. Composite images are discouraged, but will be accepted as long as no more than 6 work samples in total are represented in the application. Again, no signatures, initials, or recognizable artist marks or identifiers should appear in the images. If you are submitting video as work sample documentation in interdisciplinary, each video clip must be no longer than 1 minute in length and no larger than 100 megabytes. If you're submitting only video files, you may upload 2 work samples with a maximum time limit of 5 minutes each, which may not exceed 250 megabytes each, or 1 work sample with a maximum time limit of 10 minutes, not exceeding 500 megabytes. Only 1 work sample should be documented in each video. The video may only provide documentation of the submitted work samples. So again, please do not submit promotional videos, interviews, other commentary which provides interpretation of the work. And if you choose to submit PDFs as work sample documentation in the interdisciplinary category, you may submit 1 to 4 PDFs of the applicant's original work. Each PDF should not exceed 10 pages. All work samples must be submitted in English. Authors may translate their own work into English if originally written in a different language. Please be sure the text is, if there's text involved, that it's easy to read font and size. And work submitted as PDFs must be written work samples. So please don't submit images as PDFs. Again, images should be submitted as JPEGs, PNGs, etc. And again, as you know, as we say for each one, please don't submit works in progress or that were completed while you were a student, and the work samples must have been completed after July 16th, 2021. Painting. The painting category accepts all forms of painting, including watercolor, acrylic, oil, encaustic, graffiti, etc., and paintings which incorporate mixed media. Digital painting is not accepted. 4 to 6 digital images of the applicant's original work must be uploaded into the online application. You may include detail shots, but again, it's strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented in your application. Composite images are discouraged, but will be accepted as long as no more than 6 work samples in total are represented. Again, please be sure there are no signatures, initials, or recognizable artist marks. You can crop them out. You can, put if you open a PDF file with it, you can put a black mark over it to block out your signature or initials. Just please make sure that they're not included when you upload your work samples. If you are submitting self-portraits, they should not be identified as such if the image contains a recognizable likeness of you as the artist. In other words, you can apply with self-portraits, but please don't say that it is a self-portrait. And then again, for painting, applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample: the title, the medium, the dimensions, the month and year of completion. And applicants should also describe the production techniques, materials, and technical processes related to the creation of the work samples in the technical information section. So that could be for painting, elaboration about specific techniques that were used, how certain materials were applied, etc. Printmaking / drawing / book arts. This category accepts all forms of drawing, printmaking, etching, collage, illustration, installations in which printmaking or drawing techniques are pivotal, and other visual media other than painting. Book art and examples of artistic bookmaking are also eligible in this category. Artist catalogs and literary books are not accepted. Other sculptural forms constructed of paper should be submitted in the sculpture category. Work that only exists in digital format is not accepted. So again, just reiterating, digital paintings and digital drawings, like those that are created on an iPad, are not accepted in any category currently. 4 to 6 digital images of the applicant's original work must be uploaded into the online application. Again, you may include detail shots, but it's strongly recommended that at least 4 individual pieces of work are represented. Composite images are discouraged, but will be accepted as long as no more than 6 work samples in total are represented. All work samples must have been created after July 16th, 2021. Again, please make sure no signatures, initials, or recognizable artist marks appear in the images. Self-portraits should not be identified as such. And do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. Applicants should be prepared to supply the following information about each work sample: the title, the medium, the dimensions, the month and year of completion. And again, there's an area for technical information on the application as well, where you can discuss techniques that were used, materials that were applied, etc. And finally, prose. This category accepts all forms of fiction, literary nonfiction, and other creative prose, including novels, novellas, short stories, essays, criticism, journalism, and biography. Technical writing is not accepted, and poetry and playwriting / screenwriting are not accepted, as those are disciplines that are reviewed in alternate years. So both poetry and playwriting / screenwriting were offered last year and will be offered again next year. They are not accepted in the prose category. A 10 to 20 page section of single original work by the applicant must be uploaded into the application. The full work sample must have been completed after July 16th, 2021. The submitted section of the work sample must represent a contiguous portion of the full text. In other words, do not submit a collection of excerpts. Panelists will be asked to read the entire 10 to 20 pages that are submitted. All work samples must be in English. Authors may translate their own work into English if originally written in a different language. English translations of work by authors other than the applicant and translations of the applicant's work by someone other than the applicant are not permitted. Please do not include identifying or crediting information, including the applicant's name or pen name, literary agent information, or publication details. You are welcome to apply with a work sample that was previously published, but again, please do not include publication details. Do not submit works in progress or work completed while the applicant was a student. To help with legibility and ease of review during the panel evaluation process, please format the submitted work sample document according to the following specifications. Again, these are listed in the rules and instructions as well, but it should be a standard 8.5 by 11 page size, double spaced, 1-inch margins, easy to read font. Title pages may only include the name of the work, and the title page will not be factored into the total page count. Pages should be numbered. And in cases where accompanying images are integral to the understanding of the written work, such as graphic novels, the applicant may include illustrations or images. Please note, however, that only the applicant's written work is what is being evaluated in this category. The applicant must provide a photo credit or credits for the included images, or note that the images were created by them to protect their anonymity. Stock photos, clip art, and other images that identify the applicant or are intended to embellish the document will not be accepted. Applicants must provide information about the work sample, including the title, the length of the full work in pages, the month and year of completion, a short 2 to 3 sentence synopsis of the full work, and the synopsis should help situate the submitted section in the context of the larger work if applicable. So before we begin the demo of the application, I want to reiterate a couple of important points about the work samples you submit. So first and foremost, keep your work samples and work sample information anonymous. Please be sure to carefully review your work samples and the file properties for any identifying or biographical information and make sure it has been removed. Again, for the purposes of this program, identifying and biographical information includes your legal or artist name, contact information, including email, address, phone number, social media handles, agent or media contacts. Any biographical information that could be found in your CV or resume, such as exhibitions, performances, publications, educational background, former current employment, details about awards, fellowships, grants, residencies, details about the exhibition, performance, or publication of the work that you've submitted, and any indication, hinted or overt, about the applicant's age, experience level, or where the applicant is in their career. Your work samples, again, should be completed work. Please do not submit project proposals or works in progress. Only submit your original work, collaborative work, or any work over which you do not have sole creative control is considered ineligible. If you have recently completed a course of study, make sure you are not submitting work you created while you were a matriculated student. Okay, so let me stop that share. And I'm going to go ahead and switch views here so that we can give a demonstration of the online system. Alrighty, and Steph, can you just tell me that you can see that?
I can see it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the direct URL to the online application is shown right here. It's midatlanticarts.smartsimple.com, but it's also included in the rules and instructions and on the website as well. So first thing you'll want to do is open your internet browser. Again, either type that address into the bar at the top of the page, or you can click the link to follow it there. So you must have a SmartSimple account and be logged in order to access the application. If you have an existing account but can't remember your information, what you can do is click the forgot password link below the login fields to regain access to your account. A link where you can reset your password will be sent to the email that's associated with your account. If you have applied for an organizational grant through the Mid-Atlantic Arts Smart Simple system in the past year, you will also need to create a new account as an individual artist. To create an account, you will click the register button under the login fields to get started. And this is what will come up. So applicants for the Individual Artist Fellowship program must register as individual artists in order to have access to this application when you log in. So you would need to select individual artists to continue. And then on the next page, you would enter your information and provide an email address for your account. We strongly recommend registering your individual artist account with a personal email address rather than a business one. This is especially important if your business email is associated with an organization that might apply for grant funding through Mid-Atlantic Arts in the future. So I've already registered with an email address for today's demonstration, but once you complete this page and submit your registration, you'll receive an email from Smart Simple prompting you to log in and set your account password. The link in that email will take you right back to the login page, which again looks like this. And then you'll be able to finish setting up your password and activating your account. After you set your password, you'll be directed back to the login page where you can enter the email and password and log in. So again, for demonstration purposes, I've already registered, so I'm just going to enter my test account. Okay, so once you're logged in, you'll be directed to a landing page that will list all the account options and grant opportunities available to individual artists. So from this page, you can update your profile information and change your password. You can start a new application, access your in-progress applications if you have any, or check the status of a submitted application. To access the fellowship application, you're going to click on Funding Opportunities under Available Applications, which is right here. So this page will display any opportunities that are currently open to individual artists at Mid-Atlantic Arts. Other grant applications may also be listed on this page. So you'll click Apply Now under the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowship opportunity, and that will start your application. So for those of you who have applied for this before, something new that you'll notice this year is before you even get into the application, there is what we call an eligibility quiz. So in order to have access to the application, you have to go through and answer each of these eligibility questions. If you give, the quote unquote incorrect answer for any of these, which would be things that would make you ineligible, you will automatically not be able to reach the actual application. So again, these are simple eligibility questions like we went over earlier. Are you 18 years or older? Are you a permanent resident of New Jersey? Are you currently a student? Did you receive a fellowship in the past 5 years? And again, please note this does not apply to finalists. If you received a finalist, that is not what we're talking about. If you're a finalist, you're still allowed to apply. Are you currently an actively practicing artist, sharing your work with public professionally or otherwise? Do you have sole creative control of the artwork you intend to submit in your work sample? Do you confirm that you are not submitting digital drawings or paintings? Again, those are not allowed in any category. Do you confirm that you understand your application will be considered ineligible if your personally identifying information is visible? And then again, confirming that you have read the rules and instructions and will review your application before submitting, and that you understand if you submit your application after the early bird deadline and you have any errors, it will be deemed ineligible. So you're going to go ahead and click submit and continue to application. It will give you an alert. Do you want to submit this form? And now you're in the actual application. Excuse me. So it's important to note that once you're in this actual application, sometimes it's good to just click save draft. And that will save a copy of the application to the drafts in your account, just to be safe. The application itself is divided into 3 tabs. So that's applicant information, work samples, and consent. Navigating between these 3 is very simple. You can just click on them, or you can click the next and back buttons at the bottom of the page down here. So on the applicant information tab, which is the first section of the application, nothing on this tab will be shared with panelists, so you do not need to worry about personal information here. This is the one tab of the application where personal information is allowed. The first thing that you'll be prompted to do at the very top here is to select the category in which you are applying. As a reminder, you may only submit one application in one single category per year. So I'm just going to select painting for our purposes. Some of the information that you provided when registering for your Smart Simple account will automatically carry over to this tab. So you're going to see some of your information is pre-populated under the profile information header. Just to review what's here in terms of your name, your address, your phone, all that stuff. And you can edit your account profile information if you need to. And then just a note also that anywhere you see one of these little red asterisks, that means that that specific field is required. So you'll need to provide information in all of those fields before the system will allow you to submit. So if you're missing something in one of these, like these all have the little asterisks, if you don't fill them out and then you try to submit, it's going to give you an error message and tell you that you need to complete that first. On this lower half of the page, you'll provide your artist or publicity name. This is basically just a name that you prefer to use when being publicly addressed as an artist. We will provide this information to the State Arts Council for announcements if you do receive a fellowship. You'll also be required to provide the county in which you reside. The application also asks for information about any previous New Jersey State Council on the Arts Individual Artist Fellowships that you may have won. So if you have ever received one and you click yes, you'll be prompted to put the year and discipline in there as well. And then finally, the New Jersey State Council on the Arts also collects optional demographic information that provides the council with important data about the communities they serve. So this information is used for analytical purposes only and will not be seen by the panelists or otherwise inform the selection process at all. And that's all down here. Demographics, gender identity, sexual identity, age, and disability status. Before we move over to the work sample tab, it's important to understand how the application works to ensure that you're supplying the correct information. So back at the top here, like I said, the very first thing you're asked to choose is your discipline. The category that the applicant selects will determine what specific work sample information they're required to provide on the work samples tab. So basically, this just allows applicants to see the information that's relevant for them depending on the category they're applying to. So for instance, I'm choosing painting. When we go to the work samples tab, that's going to give us image upload sections. If I chose prose, it would only give us the option to upload PDFs. So please make sure that when you are applying, you do not skip this first question. I know sometimes it flies by folks because it's the very first thing on there and they're starting to scroll. But if you do not choose a discipline, when you go to the work samples page, there won't be anything there. So I've gotten many, frantic emails and calls in the past of folks being like, I can't upload any work samples. And typically the problem is that they haven't selected their discipline here. So again, we're going to do painting just for this demonstration. I'm going to save the draft just to be sure. I think that's always safe to do. And then I'm going to click on over to the work samples tab. So I've selected painting as my category. The work samples tab is going to provide some instructions on uploading painting work samples. So again, keep in mind this will look different, totally dependent on the category. I want to remind everyone again, I know I sound like a broken record, but that anonymity is a cornerstone of the fellowship's program. So again, it's extremely, extremely important that you remove any identifying or biographical information from anything that's included in this work samples tab of the application. As a general rule, anything that could be listed on your resume or CV should be omitted from this section of the application. So moving down the page, we have the work sample file upload. So categories that collect image, audio, and video work samples will use a media library function, which is this right here, which allows you to upload multiple files into your application at once. So once you click or once you scroll here, it'll tell you exactly what file types are allowed. So again, this one is just image type since it's painting. So these are the types that are allowed here. And the max file size for each upload and the max number of files is also listed there. So if you click the browse button here, it will take you to your own files on your computer. You'll want to locate the ones that you are trying to upload. So again, for us, I'm just picking random photos of my dog. So let's say these are my 3 paintings that I want to upload. I'll click open and you'll see they'll come up right here. It should say upload complete. And then they will appear down here in what's called the photo library. Please bear in mind that the upload speed does depend on your personal internet connection as well as the size of the files you're uploading. So sometimes it can take a couple extra seconds. And then, so now the files are in the media library. You can preview the images by clicking them and it will show them larger. And yes, the panelists will be able to see them enlarged like this. They will be able to click on them and pull them up and see them close up. So the application will also collect specific information about each work sample itself. So you'll notice under each work sample, there's a list of information that needs to be input under each and every one there. To edit that, what we call metadata under each work sample, you'll want to click this properties button. It's the little pencil inside the box and it should be there under every single work sample. If you click on it, hopefully you can see this pop-up box. If you can't, there's a pop-up here that has each of the different pieces of information that needs to be filled in. So again, the title, the medium, the dimensions, the month and year of completion, and then finally any technical information that you feel is necessary to share with the panel there. Once you enter that, and I mean, I didn't enter, but if you did enter it and you click save, it'll all show up underneath that specific work sample. Please make sure you do that for each of your work samples. It is necessary. And then finally, once you get through that, like I said, again, I always like to click save draft just to be sure that it's saving what is there. Please note that if you're applying in the pros category, you'll just have a simple file upload field for a PDF, and you'll enter the information about your work sample into the form as prompted. You won't need to click a little properties button like on this one. The information will just be underneath of it and you'll input it there. So if you're applying in pros and you don't see an edit metadata button, you're not missing anything. The form is just different because it's just PDF documents. down below the section where you do your work sample uploads, this is where you'll see the optional field to provide an application context statement. So again, this is limited to 150 words, and you'll see we have, again, put all of the instructions about what you can and cannot include in this statement right above the actual field itself. So please scroll through and review that to make sure that you're following the instructions there. And then at the very bottom of the work samples tab, you'll also be asked 2 questions that are intended to help verify that you've completed all the necessary fields and that the information submitted in this tab of the application is anonymous. So after applicants have uploaded their work samples and filled in all the related information for their respective categories, you're also required to provide your consent to the terms and conditions of the program. So on this last tab, consent, this is what will come up. You'll just review the information provided, and then you'll need to click the I have read and agree to the statements listed above. And again, you have to click this checkbox in order to submit your application at all. Applicants who do not agree with the terms and conditions are not considered eligible and will not be allowed to submit their applications. Another very important and helpful piece of information on the left-hand side of your application, you'll notice it says main, which is the application itself, and then notes. If you have a question or need technical assistance as you are completing your application, you can click on this notes tab on the left-hand side. And this little plus button lets you add a new note where you can write a message directly to Mid-Atlantic Arts staff, aka me. So whatever you type in here, please be more specific than just saying help. But type in whatever your issue is. And if you click save, that note will get shared with me, and I will be able to come on and respond to it directly. So like right now, I already just received an email directly to my inbox that I got a note on this particular application. The notes will all be saved here, so you can go back and read them alongside your application for easy reference. And then if you click the main tab, it will return you back to the application where we were. So when you're all set, you reviewed everything very carefully and you're ready to submit, you'll click the submit button at the bottom of the page. If you have missed a required field or if other errors are found, you will see a red error box at the top of the page. So I'm going to try to submit and you'll see it's going to tell me I'm missing basically everything. So it'll tell you at the top right here, submission failed, and these are a bunch of the things that I'm missing. So you'll need to go back in, make the appropriate corrections to the application. And then once everything is verified and you've done all of that and you fixed all that, at that point, if you try to submit again, it will just pop up with a confirm that you're ready to submit and you'll click yes. And that will complete the submission process. Once the application has been submitted, you will no longer be able to make changes. So please, please, please review the information carefully before you click that submit button. If you're unsure of the eligibility requirements, again, everything that we've gone over today is in the rules and instructions. And you can always contact us prior to submitting the application with any questions. After you've successfully submitted your application, you'll receive a confirmation message in Smart Symbol, as well as an automatically generated email with a copy of your application. At that point, no further actions are required. Sometimes it can take several minutes for that confirmation email to be sent. And also because it's coming from the system itself, please do check your junk or spam folder. A lot of times they go there just because, Gmail or whatever email platform thinks that it's spam. And then finally, I'll note that submitting your application means that you filled in all the required information and provided the correct work sample file types, but it does not necessarily mean that you have met all the eligibility and technical requirements. So again, we try to provide some reminders throughout the application, but it's ultimately up to the applicant to make sure that you have followed the rules and instructions. Before we wrap up the demonstration, I just want to reiterate that you do not need to complete the application all at once. Applicants can fill out a portion of the application and save draft and log back in at a later time, and that saved information will still be there for you. Back on your homepage, do this. So back on your homepage, you can also access but not edit your submitted application from the homepage on this landing page. So if I had submitted it, it would be listed under here and I could click on it and view it, but I would not be able to edit it. If you have saved your draft and you return to your homepage here, under my applications, you'll see I have, well, it says two, it should be one, application in progress. After your application has been submitted, it will move from the in progress one to the submitted folder. And then after the fellowships have been awarded and notifications have been sent, you'll also be able to see the information under the approved/declined section. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing here and come back on. And I have not been able to look at anything in the Q&A and chat so far, Steph, just so you know. Let me just pull this slide back up real quick before we get to questions. So again, Mid-Atlantic Arts administers the application submission and review process on behalf of the State Council on the Arts. So we are here to help through this application process. So please feel free to be in touch. Questions about the program rules and instructions, the application process, technical issues should be directed to me. Again, my name is Jackie Dominis. I'm the program director for fellowships at Mid-Atlantic Arts. The absolute best way to reach me is by that email on the screen, fellowships@midatlanticarts.org. I usually can respond to emails quicker than calls. But of course, there's a phone number there as well, if that's your preferred method. That's the phone number on the screen. Please be aware that assistance will only be available during regular business hours and until 5 p.m. on the day of the deadline, which means if you send an email or you call at 5:30 p.m. on the day of the deadline, I will not be there to answer it. So that's why we ask you to please plan ahead. Mid-Atlantic offices are also closed on federal holidays. Please be aware of that. I do also want to mention that applicants receive assistance on a first come, first served basis and should be aware that the demand increases significantly shortly before the deadline. So, when folks are rushing in those last couple of days, we're getting a major influx of calls and emails. So if you can be in touch as early in the application process as possible, we can make sure that we get back to you in a timely fashion. So we're gonna go ahead and open up for questions. If you have. Alrighty. And you can see the slide, right, Steph? Good. Okay.